welcome to Skabende Stemmer. This is my first time in English, because I want to. There are a lot of interesting people out there that are not just Danish, that also speak English. And the first one in this round of English is Anastasija. She's a very humble, very lovely, and just a great person with a great heart. Dancer and choreographer and many other things. She bears many hats. Welcome, Anastasija.
Thank you.
So, do you want to start with telling a bit about yourself? Like where you come from, your journey to dancing and all that?
Mm-hmm. So, my name is Anastasija. Some people call me Anastasija. Some people call me Nastya.
Mm-hmm.
At home, my family calls me Asya. I come from Latvia, and I moved to Denmark 12 or maybe even 13 years ago. I lost the count.
Mm-hmm. It's been many years.
It's been many years. I think it was 2010. Yeah, 2010 or 2011. Actually, that makes it 13, 14 years. That's how long I've been to Denmark.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how come you chose to move to Denmark?
I moved to Denmark first because I did university.
Mm-hmm.
Denmark? I was studying in Latvia. I started studying very early when I was 18, straight after school. I was studying sociology at the University of Latvia. Mm-hmm. And then we had a chance to do exchange, yeah. Erasmus exchange. And I chose Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any specific reason for why it landed on Denmark?
It's because I've been dancing already in Latvia. Mm-hmm. And when I had to choose a country or city I'm going to go to, I wanted to make sure that I can still continue dancing. Mm-hmm. And so there is a street dance culture alive, that there are dancers that maybe I heard of, not necessarily know personally, that they arrange dance battles. And at that time, Lil Steph was somebody that I really liked. I think she's so amazing. Mm-hmm. And she was from Copenhagen. And I was like, okay, so in Denmark I have Copenhagen. And then I had a couple of other choices. One of them was Lithuania. And I'm like, why would I go to Lithuania? It's like next to me. Of course not. Then it was Portugal. Exciting. Mm-hmm. Then it was Belgium. Exciting. Then it was also Hungary. But all of those places it was not in the capital. It was a little bit away. And I was afraid that also from previous stories, of course, Erasmus exchange is about exchange in university, but it's also about socializing. And I just didn't want to spend my exchange only on partying. It's exciting to go to a new country.
Definitely.
So I chose to Denmark because I wanted to also dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the reason. And then I finished my exchange. It was half a year. And I did some battles. I remember I did Bonnie and Clyde battle with Bobby at Hot Stepper. Mm-hmm. At their Christmas jam. I was, we were in the finals against Miracle and Capella.
Oh.
Yeah. Then there was Battle Hanix battle as well, with so many international people.
Oh, yeah. It was quite big.
Legends. It was so big at that time, and I was like, whoa, I'm so happy I chose this country. So I participated. That's when I met Ayub. Mm-hmm. And it was very funny. Ayub was probably the first dancer I met, and he became one of the first close friends. In Copenhagen. We were practicing at this at now Kobiho Plus, but it used to be Flow.
Yeah.
That's where we met. And I met Rina there,
Mm-hmm.
my friend. She was also exchange student. And we started to hang out.
Yeah.
And we were taking Diana's class.
Wow.
There's even video somewhere on Facebook of us dancing together with Eva School.
We should maybe find that.
Yeah, it's funny. So I engaged in different community events. And then I finished my bachelor, I went back to Latvia. I finished my exchange, went back to Latvia. And I got an email from Casper.
Mm-hmm.
They saw me and they wanted to give me scholarship to do dance education.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a big thing, because I like dancing since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And given this opportunity and this like proposal of going to school every day from 9 to 3, and you can do dancing, and it's not ballet and contemporary. I have nothing against it. I think it's really nice. At that time, I was really into, and still am, of course, into street dance. So taking an education that's focusing only on that was like something I didn't even think existed.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave me scholarship so I could do it for free.
Nice.
I would never I would have to work for a couple of years to earn that money, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember my parents were skeptic because they really wanted me to continue university. But at the same time, what you read in books and what you learn in Latvia, that Denmark is such a country with pretty high standards of living. And my dad wanted me to try another place to live than Latvia, I think. So they said they always kind of trusted me in my choices as well. Mm-hmm. So they said, okay, go. And then they gave me 1,000 euros. Yeah, that's what they had, and they gave me 1,000 euros. So when I think about it now, that's like 7,000 kronas.
Mm-hmm. It's 1 month rent.
It's 1 month rent.
Yeah.
I used to live with Maya at that time at Istagal, and at that time rent was very small.
Yeah.
It was 2,500 kronas, right?
Per person?
Yeah, per room.
Oh.
And I also saved very much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was eating tuna and rice. So yeah. So that's how I moved to Denmark.
Okay.
And I did Hadstepper dance education, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I stayed.
Yeah. Is it a bachelor or a master?
Bachelor.
And you finished it?
Yeah. I have bachelor in sociology.
Okay. That's cool. And how come you then stayed after this year?
I thought, okay, I moved to Denmark. I did education for 1 year and I started something. Mm-hmm. I started establishing some new relationships. It's one thing to move somewhere else and be and be attached to a particular institution, like here education. Yeah. And so there is always somebody chooses directions you are gonna go every day. And I just wanted to try to see how I can go by myself. I was given so many directions. You can do so many things with dance and around dance. So I wanted to see how I can stay here, maybe find work and still dance. It was so crazy to me that dancers I met here in Copenhagen, some of them were just going to New York for 3 months to dance, or they would go to Paris for half a year, or they would travel to London, or they would always commute between Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and this like such a free traveling. Yeah. I could not place it in my head. I was like, how can you do that? Because you need to have finance. How can you afford that? Yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe if I'm gonna stay here and I will find work, maybe I can also save some money and do that, because if other people can do it, then maybe I can do it too.
Yeah, why should you not be able?
Yeah, exactly. So I decided to stay and try it out, to live in Denmark, and to not just cut it and go back to Latvia.
Yeah.
I felt there was some transition happening in me, and I was learning a lot, of course, from dance education, but also from living in another country. It's very different. People's mentality is very different.
Compared to Latvia. I
Yes.
guess. Yeah.
The way people live is also very different. The way people work is different. So I wanted to feel it more and try it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think I can talk on many people's behalf that we're happy that you stayed here in Denmark.
I thank you so much.
As I see it, you're a pretty settled name in the Danish dancing scene. You have done a lot of great work and continue to do a lot of work.
Thank you.
And it's just nice to see. Like I've known you for a while, and I love to see where you also now hearing this, but where you came from some time ago to now. That now you get support from Statens Kunstfond, which is not many.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but you get it.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask a bit about your creative process and your interests, because I think you have a very particular approach or mindset. So the first that made me think like this was your project Ants. Where did that come from, and how did you think about putting ants and dancing together?
Well, this is a very long story. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready. I have
Okay.
15 minutes.
15
No.
15 minutes. Okay.
Just
So it seems like the beginning of where ants started, it never has a particular starting point, because I found that one day and time in the past where I decided to make a piece about it. But then when I try to think, why did I make peace about it, it always drags me back into my teenage years, my childhood, actually my family. And it's very interesting, this project, because I also don't, it's always changing. It's consistently changing. I not finished it, but we had a premiere in 2021 August, and now it's 2024.
Yeah.
Is it 2024 now?
It's 24,
yes, it's 2024. So it's been living already 3 seasons, and it's not the same as it was in 2021. It doesn't have the same dancers now. It's a consistent mix of change, so it doesn't have the ending point either. Yeah. But why I started to make it, it's at the very beginning. It started at Hot Stepper, actually.
In the education?
No, it started the idea of creating a piece about ants, right? It started, I used to have experimental classes at Hot Stepper, and then I would make shows. And I always like to make shows that have some theme. It's very hard to do it when it's only 3 minutes performance, but this class always been very open-minded and creative. So I was like, I would always give a theme, you know? And then at that time, I used to listen a lot to Edit. You remember that band,
yes.
right? And they had the track called Ants.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love ants. I think we should make something about ants. And it's so funny because at that time, Tia and Naomi were part of my class. Also Olivia. Yeah. And other people too. And so we made a short 3 minutes version of ants, and I kind of felt, okay, this is actually very interesting, because I started watching documentaries and reading about it. And I was like, I would love to make something that would maybe go deeper into this theme. And then at the Enza Capella, they used to have this platform called Take the Stage, where they offered some young choreographers. They offered space for rehearsals. They offered stage and light technician, a mentor who would help you to bring your idea into reality, into a choreographic piece. And yeah, I think they had an open call, so you had to write about some type of idea. Yeah, and then I got it, and I asked my mentor to be Mark Phillip. Mark Phillip is amazing. Yes, and that's where I started making a short version, 8 minutes version. And I remember sometimes with all this experimental classes and being inspired by some type of insects, mutations, monsters, irregular forms. Sometimes people, I wouldn't say make fun of me, but people would make a little laugh about the idea or something, you know. And I remember that when I came to Mark Phillip and I was like, I want to make something about ants. I want to make something about ants because I like how they work together. I want to make something about ants because I like how they have this collective intellect and how they are so fascinating, you know. This brought me back to my childhood and to the place where I come from, because Latvia, like at that time, 40%, maybe more, of our territory has been covered with forests, and going to forest has been big tradition with my family. Every summer we would go for berry picking and mushroom hunting.
Nice.
And I would experience absolutely magical moments in the wild forest. It's not a park. It would always change. Every year it would be a little bit different because of storms, because of rain, but it had so many wood ants. And everywhere you see this like piles, and when you look at it from very far, it just looks like a shape. It looks like a shape that is not moving, like small hills that are not maybe like almost like I don't know,
up to your thigh,
up
hips.
to my thigh, my hip.
Yeah.
And then when you come closer, you see something is moving, and then you come closer, and suddenly you see it's a lot of ants, and they're just like moving in many different directions. And then if you come even closer, then they will start attack you. And some of them were also red, and they can bite. They can get into your shoes, you know, under your clothes and bite you. So I thought it was really interesting to just look at it.
Yeah.
And it's such a structured shape, and it looks like an absolute chaos. And and the way they walk one after each other, like carrying leaves on top of their backs. So I really liked it, and I told Mark Phillip, I was like, listen, I want to make a piece about insects, about ants. And Mark was like, this is an amazing idea. I think you should do that. And we started watching videos together, and he was so excited about this. And it gave me so much, it means so much when somebody, actually, it's not that everybody needs to like your idea, but it's nice to hear support and excitement from somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
And I looked up to Mark Phillip a lot. So he helped me, mentored me. Nice. And I made 8 minutes piece, and with 6 people. It was Miran, Elias, Olivia, Tia, Emilia. And wait, Tia, Olivia, Emilia, Miran, Elias. This is so embarrassing. Oh my God, Naomi, of course.
Yeah.
And Naomi. Yes, it was very hard to make that piece because it required free work from everybody. And imagine making schedule for 8 people, for 6 people. No, actually for 7, because I need to include myself. For 7 people to make that happen. And Emilia at that time lived, I think, in Paris.
Yeah.
So she would miss some rehearsals. But she was taking a role of queen. So it was, I used a little bit more individual approach to her. So that in that sense, it was a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Yes, and we made a piece. We managed. The team was amazing. And we showed it at Take the Stage. And people really liked it. And then we got open call for Suburban Dance Festival. And we got to present the piece at Suburban Dance Festival too.
Nice.
Which was very, very exciting. And then people told me, people really liked it, and some people said it was very short. I think you could do a longer piece with this. And I divided the whole piece in 5 parts.
Yeah.
And already while making that small performance, I had to narrow down and kill some darlings,
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I want to make a long piece. I need to figure out how to do this. Because I see Uppercut is performing long pieces. I see some other people. Gunilla, I think at that time, got funding for her own piece. And I was like, this is so interesting. I need to do some research here. How do you even do that?
Yeah.
And my aim was also to collect funding that would cover the artist costs.
Yeah.
So because I did not want to ask for favors or ask people to work for free, because this is real work, this is hard work, and people don't eat air.
Nope.
So then I started writing fundings to Statens Kunstfond. Yeah.
And that was the time you got the funding?
No, I wrote it 5 times. It took me 5 years to get the funding. And it was nightmare. I didn't know how to crack the code. It was the first time I wrote applications to Statens Kunstfond, I wrote it in English. I did not really get so much help. I just wrote it how I thought. I just read the description, what they want. Yeah. I made a budget. So I remember I asked Gunilla to send me an example of how do you make budget. Yeah. So she helped me with that. I made a budget and I sent it in. And I remember Cher looked at the budget and she was like, darling, you made a mistake. You added too many zeros. You actually asked for 2 million. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to write to Statens Kunstfond, to the secretary, and ask to correct the mistake. And Bo Hansen, I think at that time, he was working there. Bo Hansen is like secretary. He corrected it. And then I got denial. So I didn't get the funding. And then I wrote to the secretary if I can get a feedback on my application. And my Danish was pretty bad. I misunderstood him, and I thought that I had a meeting. So I went to Statens Kunstfond, and I was standing at the reception, and I said, I have a meeting. I even remember now. I have a meeting at 2:00 with Bo Hansen. They were like, okay, they were really sweet. And then he came down. He looked at me, and he was so confused. And he was like, we don't do feedbacks because we get 200-300 applications, even more. So we never do individual feedback. And I said, oh, I'm okay. I thought we agreed on a meeting. He was like, you must have misunderstood it. I was like, no, okay. All right, well, I was like, but I need to get something out of it. And I said, is it better to write in Danish? He was like, it's better to write in Danish. I was like, okay, check, at least something I got out of this meeting. It was just a funny story, I think, that I went there. Yes, that's like a story, you know.
Learning the hard way.
Learning the hard way,
Learning, and you got it in the end.
Yes.
Did you get some help during these 5 years?
Yes,
From some?
first 3 times when I was sending it, I got, it was very chaotic. I was asking not random people, but to help me to write it in Danish, and somebody would like translate one paragraph for me, then another person would translate another paragraph for me. It was chaos, and I would always sit in the last moment, like 5 minutes before deadline, trying to make it work. And then I was really tired of getting no's, and I decided that I need to ask for somebody's professional help.
Yeah.
And I wrote to Anastasija. She worked at Dansekapella for Uppercut at that time. And I also got to know Amina, of course, so I talked to Amina. Amina forwarded me to Anne Skriver. Anne Skriver, I think she was an English teacher, and she's very poetic when she writes things. Okay. So she met with me, I told her my idea, and she helped me so much. She wrote me amazing application. She showed me how to organize my CVs. She showed me how to make a budget. I sat down, I swear, I looked through every funding that was possible in Denmark. And I read all the descriptions to see what really works for me.
Yeah.
I said, she wrote me the description. So then I would just send it out.
Yeah.
I sent 26 applications for ants. I even sent it to fundings that did not receive it in digital version. But I printed it out and sent letters. I remember I was biking to Klampenborg.
Wow.
To put in a post box because I thought it would take too much time and I needed faster answers. Yeah. So, and I sent to Statens Kunstfond one time with her application, with her description. They denied it. I sent a second time. They denied it. And so it was already 4th time. And then I got Augustinus Fund, Toyota Fonden, Knud Højgaard Vilja Dement Fonden, Ege og Hans Louise's Fonden. Sorry if I said it wrong. I got all that money. I was like, okay, I can send to Statens Kunstfond because the worst thing I can get is no.
Yeah.
But I have everything ready. I wrote so many descriptions, rewriting. I felt like I know by heart that description. So I sent it and I got the money. So I felt like that was a big win.
It was a huge win.
To get. People told me you can't send the same application again and again. And I remember that every time I would be changing something. And then I got tired of it because I knew that the project is good. Project has depth, project has a message. It's about nature. I'm going to collaborate with scientists, which also is going to give some type of an opening for the audience, where it's not only dance and art lovers, but also people who are interested in nature and science and insects would also kind of become part of this artistic process of this interdisciplinary approach of looking at the same thing from different lenses. Yeah. So I knew it's a good project. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to send the application the way I did before. Yeah. And it worked. I don't know why it worked on 3rd time, maybe because they saw that I have already gathered so many fundings. So they should support it. Yeah.
I heard that it's easier to get other fundings if you get some funding.
You know what? It really depends. Yeah, it's because I got Statens Kunstfond that time, but after that I thought, yes, I got in, so now it's going to be easier. But then I sent the application for another project and I got denial. And I've been getting denials. I just got denial also for Arbeidslegater. So it is it's hard applications. You need to really work. You really need to work. You have the work ethic with these applications and persistence. Like perseverance. So yeah,
there's a lot going into working to get your own salary.
Yes, exactly.
Through this.
Yeah. And sometimes it becomes very, very tiring. actually.
Yeah, it's not the work you want to do, actually.
You don't.
You want to do dancing or choreographing
Yes.
projects.
But I also feel that I like it. It's not that I don't like doing these things. I think these things are nice. It's just because then I need to find extra time in my life for it.
Yeah.
That is apart from work, because I'm not getting paid for writing applications and sitting and doing all the mood boards. It's part of my artistic process. That's why, of course, it would be great to receive arbeidslegater so I can work on my art and not worry about my rent.
Yeah.
But I like it, and it comes from university. I like doing university. I like to study. I like doing budgets. I loved math in school.
Yeah.
It's very exciting, especially when you get the money and you have to do budgeting. I think I'm pretty good at it, at budgets. Yes, I actually do enjoy some of the administrative work. It's a little bit frightening sometimes, because I don't know if you ever experienced this, but when you are responsible for something that you need to, for example, you get the money and then you need to spend it wisely, and then you need to report. So I'm consistently afraid that I'm doing something wrong, and then I have to remind myself I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not spending this money on burgers, like right? I'm spending all money on necessary things for projects, but it is sometimes frightening to make a mistake or something in a budget.
It's always there in the back.
It's always that. But it goes back to university and to my school. And I also come from family of, my dad was physician and a radio engineer, and my mom was also engineer. So, we all been really good at math at home.
Yeah.
We all loved math.
That's
so
pretty cool.
And writing papers, and in university we had very strict teachers, and it was pretty intense. We would have 8 courses per semester, and we would have to write a lot of papers, read a lot. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I like to do research, especially qualitative research with conversations. Not so much doing statistical research on people. Because I thought it would always show only general tendency, but it would not give real answers to the situations. Yeah.
Is this the reason that that you mix in ants, stuff like that, and research and professors? That's why you mix them into your projects, because you also like to study?
I think so. I think so. And I always been, when I was a kid and a teenager and later in university, I always liked to look at things from very different perspectives. And my parents also always taught me to not judge people only from your own experience and perspective, but try to put yourself in other people's shoes and approach people with compassion and understanding. And so I liked to look at things from very different lenses. And I think because I also did university, and it's very interesting with educational system that sometimes I think maybe it would be more interesting to learn things about nature and science when it would have some creative approach to it. I was very bored with physics and chemistry in the school.
Yeah, because it's not that creative. It's not being taught
I
creatively.
think that's those are very creative subjects.
I agree, but they're not teaching it like in a creative. So
I hope my teachers are never gonna listen to this podcast. Probably they will not. But they were really I really didn't like it. Our chemistry teacher, she would always come to class and talk about her hair. And one time I had to go for a regional competition in chemistry. And then we were supposed to get ready for it in the vacation. And I remember the first time I came there, she gave me the previous year's example. Then she gave me all the answers. And then she said, wait for me, just try to figure it out. I'll be back in 10 minutes. She was gone for more than an hour. And that those exercises or like tasks and for the competition were very, very hard.
Yeah.
So, and she would never come back. I would start going around the school trying to search for her. I was like, where is she? She was just drinking tea with a literature teacher, and she forgot about me. And actually, when she did that, I lost interest towards chemistry. Because I think that the subject that were interesting in school, it was also about a teacher.
A lot.
And our math teacher, she was so passionate about her subject. I remember she was like 60 at that time. She was dancing in front of the desk when she was like, she loved numbers, she loved shapes, she loved to find solutions. She was like, she would always help people who were bad at math, and she would try to make them like it and like try to find some creative way to approach it. So maybe that's why I also felt like it was very interesting to, if there's one thing is that I can just sit and watch all the thousands of videos, but it's another thing if I can have a one-on-one conversation with somebody who's been studying, let's say, insects for years. And that's when I met Hans Joachim, I just decided, okay, for ants project, I want to meet somebody in Denmark who's really studying ants, and maybe they have ants in their lab. So I just wrote in Google, ants, a scientist, Denmark. And then I got Danish Mureman, Hans Joachim. So I was like, let me just write him an email. I wrote him an email and he answered me. And then we met, and he was very excited about the project, and I was very excited. And it's another thing when you can just sit and you can clearly ask questions and you can get the answers. And he told me that there were things he never thought about.
Like what?
Before, because I asked him about movements. Like, how do they individually move? Are there any particular interesting, weird features of how insects can move? How is their body built? How do they make decisions together? So he started digging into some new things. He said it himself that he looked at some of the behaviors that he never thought about.
Yeah.
So, and it was very interesting for him to bring this to life as well, to see the performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful that you both gained from it.
We both gained something from it, and now we also performed at Aarhus Dramaturgy department, and we worked on, because this piece doesn't have any scenography, it uses bodies as scenography, so we talked about how to use each other to complete tasks, to find solutions to problems, to issues, and how to create some type of a landscape in a room with formations, positions.
Very much like ants do in nature.
Yeah, exactly. So that was very interesting. And I think we did a workshop with students, and then we performed the piece for them.
Nice.
And they also really liked it.
Yeah.
And we had such long-standing ovations. Yeah. It was so humbling to see that people enjoyed it, and they had questions after, and they were so curious. So, yeah, I feel like those 5 years were worth it.
Sounds like that you gained a lot from it.
Yeah, and yeah.
And I love how you mix these two worlds, that you're bridging the gap between them.
Yeah,
it's really, because I also love physics and nature.
Yeah,
and I also like to be creative. And you're just a prime example on how to do it and do it in big scale.
Yeah, I love nature. And then going on those trips with my mom and dad, it was always very special moments. We would leave home 6 a.m. and we would walk 20 kilometers. We would always walk to a very particular place in Latvia, not far from a national park called Līgatne. and then there is this very beautiful cliff. So it would always be our destination. And since I've been there every year since I was maybe, I think I was there even when I was very baby, very little. I just don't remember. So I would also see how the nature would change, how the cliffs would like become actually smaller.
Yeah.
How they would, because that cliff is a kind of a touristic place, but it's not that tourists come there with big groups. It's very, you need to know that place.
Yeah.
How, because of winds or rains, they would have to rebuild particular things. There's beautiful river. And I would also follow the life of this area and this place. And with Dad liked insects, so I remember he took a branch of a tree, cut the first layer of it, and then he would like throw it on an ant's nest. It would stay there for like some time, and then he would pick it up and clear it of the ants. And he said that I can eat it or lick it like a lollipop. And I did it.
The branch?
The branch, because then they put some type of acid or liquid on it. And so I thought it was really weird. I don't know if they peed on it. No, I don't know if they pee, but yeah.
Why would you do that? Lick it?
I don't know. But you know that ants are used in the kitchen.
Yeah, in some Asian, right?
Yeah, ants have a lot of protein.
Yeah.
So, and different ants taste also different. There are ants that taste like lemongrass. There are ants that taste like honey. So they are used in kitchen and cuisine.
Yeah. I once ate a termite.
Termite are close to ants, yeah.
Yeah, I think that.
And ants are taking such a big biomass on the planet Earth, all together as society. So, yeah, so they are used in food. So maybe I have no idea what my dad did there, but it tasted good. I remember that. Yeah.
And as kids, we just do stuff.
Yeah.
We need a jingle. So, your most recent creative idea, project, can you take us through the process? How did that idea come up? And you're talking a lot about it now. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
Fungi?
Fungi, yeah.
Yeah. I remember you went to some study in Norway at some point. I think it was a bit later in the process, but you came home very excited, showing your fungi and different kinds of mold, and they're beautiful. It's beautiful, but I love to see the enthusiasm and the energy that was shining through you with this. But where did it come from, and how do you approach it now? Now that you have this experience from ants, and you go into another similar project, like with dancing and some scientific.
So, sorry.
It's okay.
So, fungi project started also through ants, because leaf cutter. I always go back to ants. Yeah. So it started with me going to the laboratory with Hans Joachim, and he had these leaf cutter ants.
And who is Hans Joachim?
It's the senior researcher from Aarhus University. Is the one who was my scientific consultant for the first performance.
Okay, thank you.
So the ants, those ants, they live in symbiosis with the fungi. So they feed the fungi, and fungi digests, and the food they give it. Yes, and then it gives them nutrition. So they live on feeding each other. They live together. And I saw this little clump in his lab, and I thought it was so interesting because it was moving. I felt like it was pulsating. It was really pulsating.
The lump of fungi?
Yes, the block of I don't know, maybe I was not... yes, I was very sober, and it was still pulsating.
That's crazy.
Maybe it's my imagination. I don't know.
You're a creative.
But yeah, so I thought it was interesting, and then suddenly you see more mushroom leather around, right? You see and then different documentaries. Marilyn Sheldrake, a book, about entangled life, and then more and more, then Fantastic Fungi, Netflix documentary, and I was like, wow, this is so interesting and it goes back to the forest where I come from and where I've been taking walks since I was a kid. We went for berries and we went for mushrooms. We love mushrooms in my family, and I know how to see which mushroom is the right one, which mushroom is poisonous. There's particular mushrooms that grow in a particular environment around particular trees. So my parents taught me these practical things, how to pick mushrooms and all of that. So I was like, wow, this is so interesting. I feel like this artistic process becomes some type of a continuation of my education. I'm learning so much about environment and life. I think everything is interconnected. I feel like everything is entangled. And I feel that there's mushrooms that grow. Mushroom that you see in a forest is just a fruit. But everything that's beneath the earth, we don't see it. No. But it's like intense and massive network that is connecting all the plants. It's like our internet, but just under earth. And without fungi, earth wouldn't exist.
No.
So that's why I was like, okay, this is something that can really deepen my understanding of existence as well and life on earth. So I decided that I would like to do something about fungi. And I had no idea how. But then I was like, maybe I need to also do my own research, read some books, but then also find some people that are researching about mushrooms, about fungi, and that can really help me to find a way where I want to go, because fungi is the whole kingdom. It's the same. Fungi is not a plant. Fungi is not obviously not a human.
It's an organism, or what do you call it?
Yeah, it's an it's a kingdom. Fungi is a separate kingdom, and it's only recently it became a separate kingdom because it would always be placed somewhere like a plant, Yeah. So we are still, when we talk about such a word as mycelium, if I tell you mycelium, would you understand what it is?
Yes.
Because you like nature and you like mushrooms. But to some other people, maybe they don't know, right? And it's normal. People don't know. And then you say it's roots.
So mycelium is the roots.
Yeah. But it's because we're trying to adopt the language that we know on something that we don't know. But mycelium is not roots, it's mycelium.
Yeah. I guess it's like with many things, it's we take from what we know and try to adapt it to that. And I guess in the beginning we use words we know, but
exactly.
But it doesn't make sense in the end.
Yeah, but mycelium networks. Yes. So so I decided that I want to study and find my direction, and obviously because it is becoming such a very popular topic and trending topic. So many people are making pieces about mycelium and fungi. Started making pieces. I'm sure there were people doing it also before, Yeah. So I decided that I need to find my angle, and I found. And then I think mold is very interesting. It's also fungi, and it's type of fungi. And there's also moles that are not fungi, but they kind of live like fungi. And they have so many interesting features and behaviors. And basically, mold is something that is responsible for life cycle on Earth. It's responsible for decomposition.
Yeah.
And I decided that these past years, life's been very drastically changing with everything that is happening around, with wars, with different type of phobias, with injustice, with how we treat our environment, also with all the propaganda that we've been fed by different governments. And I see those things also rooted in my family, in the society where I come from. And because I grew up I was born in 89. That's when it was still Soviet Union. And in 89, that's when Berlin Wall started falling and revolution started. And then it reached a point when Soviet Union collapsed, right? And countries became independent. And it was an absolute mess in our country. Like my family lost everything, like absolutely everything. My dad was getting paid by fish, This was the time when if you didn't manage to spend your old money and buy something, invest in something, it turned into nothing. It's like my grandma had, for example, 20,000 ruble, and she was very stubborn, and she didn't want to invest it in something. And then one day, for 20,000 ruble, that's approximately, but my mom told me that at that time you could buy an apartment.
Okay.
Or a small house in a summer house.
In Latvia, right?
Yeah, in Latvia. And then one day, it just switched.
So
It
worth
collapsed.
nothing.
And it was worth nothing. It's like people got depressed because people were saving. But it was very good for people, for rich people who took loans in banks.
Oh, yeah.
Because they took a lot of money. Not everybody was able to get a loan. And then suddenly they don't own almost nothing, So then I feel like the feeling of my mom loved Soviet Union.
She loved it.
She loved it because she lived good life.
Yeah.
She had a job. They were going on vacations. I never experienced that good part because I kind of was born when everything
has crashed.
Just crashed. So then, and I grew up in a Latvian Russian family.
Yeah.
So I experienced side of from that's been inherited in my family, and the way you live and treat others and treat yourself from Soviet times and ideology. Then Latvia, because I've had a lot of Latvian friends and I speak fluent Latvian. I was studying in Latvian. And there's been all these clashes between Latvians and Russians back in the days. You would hear somebody say, "Oh, you're Russian, why don't you go back to Russia?" It's something. But it was not, it's just the government that's been made split people because then it's easier to lead them,
Yeah.
One of my best friends was Latvian, Christina. She's still my friend, and we always got along good together. So I got those different perspectives, and then I went to study sociology. That also, I remember the first year I was studying sociology, I could not even understand what the fuck is sociology, because we had economics, philosophy, politics, statistics, and I was like, what is even sociology? But you kind of need to have very wide understanding of things to give it, to kind of test different hypotheses from different theories. Then I moved to Denmark, then I'm learning Scandinavian way of life and how people look at things. And then I'm also doing street culture, that is African American and Latin culture, that I learned so much as well about life and surroundings and about myself. So all these different things, it made me think that I need to let go of a lot of I need to let go of something in me so I can grow and make space for new things. And I have to relearn and unlearn. And this goes to the idea of mold. It's like, so you need to decompose some of the things from your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your past, how you deal with it. So that's how I landed with mold. It's like our thoughts can be like mold can be super bad. It's a sign, you haven't eaten your fruits. Mold ate it first. You need to throw them out or eat them faster, or maybe bathroom, so you need to do some cleaning. There's reason. So it can be very toxic too, just like our thoughts can be super toxic and very give you a lot of discomfort and give you a lot of pain. So you need to learn how to deal with it. And you need to shred some skin. And that's how I landed that I want to do mold. I want to do something about mold. I think it's interesting. So that's how I was connecting this idea of nature and a life cycle. Everything has a cycle. So I don't know, does that make sense?
Yes, and I just realized that there are so many more layers and reflections behind you going in that direction with mold. That's super nice to hear. Thank you for sharing.
And I usually, when I'm really into it, my process is slow. I realize that my process in everything is slow. It takes me time to make a really, really good friend. It takes time for me to become part of a group and feel tight with people. It takes me time to really get into the point when I feel like find an idea and how I approach it. It takes time.
And very brave for you to move to another country. But I guess that this you realized later, like after you've been living here for some time. But still brave to move to a country.
I think it's brave. Many people do that.
Very,
I like moving to another country now. I'm like, wow, I don't know. I probably would need to have a job that's attached to that place.
Even before you move.
Or a particular reason, or a person, or a project. Because it's not easy to move to another country.
No.
It's very nice in the beginning, because everything is new and exciting. And then, and you feel, wow, it's such a developed country. Like, everything is so high level, and, and everybody's living a good life. But, still waters run so deep. You start figuring out so many things. There's, in every society, there is something that is rotten. And, most of our governments are rotten. Case with Palestine and some other countries been showing more and more truth about our leaders and different people and group as well. It's been the world is changing very, very much right now. People's minds are changing, opening up.
There's so much happening now.
It's very sad. It's super sad and depressing. So so this is like how I've been nurturing this idea of mold and fungi and mushroom. And I found also I feel like I found deeper connection with nature.
Through this research.
Through this research with Turkmen Soja, we've been making music from mushrooms. We had such a humbling and beautiful experience. Creating those sounds and communicating with mushroom blocks.
How did you do that?
We got this synthesizer, and through analog modular system equipment with connected synthesizers, sensors. I might not be technically correct because sometimes I have a bad memory when it comes to names of people, words. But you are technician, you are musician, so you can.
With your words, just explain with your words.
Yes, so then I bought these mushroom blocks, and then they are living because you just need to give them some water, take care of them, and then we basically put the sensors on the mushrooms, and we just let them be, and we use different samples we decided what kind of samples we want to do. It's kicks, or snares, or some melody, or piano, or like violin, or we recorded some of my words as well, some sentences, and we just let mushroom decide what it's gonna do with it. And it reacted to touch, it reacted to release, it reacted to music, because Turkmen Soldier is like incredible pianist too. So he would start playing music and the mushroom's tempo would increase.
Really?
Yeah, so it responds to music, it responds to chaos.
But how, like, these sensors, did they sense if they send out something, or like
it's frequencies.
Okay.
It's not because we choose some type of samples, right? And then we can't really we of course add artificial way of how we can hear them speak. Like it's artificially, it's like naturally you can't hear anything, right? If you put your ear to a mushroom.
No.
You can hear if you put your ear to the earth, right? But it's a lot of insects and wind and all other processes, so you can't really separate, right? So so it kind of like you can understand it by tempo, by taking a break and then reacting to something. I remember when we had day of research at Dansekapelle together with the 4 dancers, and suddenly room became super chaotic. It's like suddenly 2 technicians came into our room to check out speakers, and they were like speaking out loud while Turkmen Soldier was like really mixing and like doing some sounds and music. And then guys like Inksy, Franklin, Anna, and Slows were dancing at the same time. And suddenly the mushroom started going so fast. I felt like it was doing some techno. And I was like, Lavant, can it go slower? And he was like, it doesn't go slower. So it was
mushrooms.
It was in a way like reacting to the chaos in the room.
That's crazy.
So that was interesting. Yeah, I feel like so. And now I'm growing mushrooms at home. I'm growing shiitake mushroom. I still have a block from research, and it's so healthy. You just have this mushroom that grows, and then when it grows, you cut it, and then you make your own food. So you know what you're eating. You know it's healthy. You know it doesn't have any chemicals. It tastes great. It tastes so great. It smells good. And so I'm like, maybe in the future I want to grow more mushrooms at home. Maybe I want to have a garden.
A small mushroom farm.
A small mushroom farm, and also grow my own vegetables, maybe. It's,
It's also a small dream of
who knows? Me. Maybe I'm going to have a farm.
It's Anastasia's farm.
So,
We need to finish. Is there anything here that you want to say in the end? Anything? Or otherwise I have a small question.
I think I said I talked so much about ants. And mold. Yes, thank you so much for actually asking me to come and join your podcast. It was very interesting to reflect.
It's good to hear you reflect.
Yeah, it's good to hear myself also speak about it.
And there's so much more I wanted to talk with you about, and it's so limited that we only have 1 hour.
Yeah, it is.
But maybe one day we can have a part 2.
Maybe. But then we just need to agree that we're not gonna get into ants.
Yes,
and,
because
and
we already
mushrooms.
covered that. Yeah.
Yes, we already covered that, and we kind of also covered mold and where I am with it now.
Yeah.
But it was really nice to talk to you.
It's super interesting to hear about your how you connect those 2 worlds and how you approach it and go about it. And it's very inspiring, and I think more should connect these worlds, because they tend to be very split, and it's also a bit a goal of this podcast to merge some worlds, or at least the artistic world, opening it up and make people understand it, and that you're kind of doing with your projects. Actually, I just thought about it now. That you invite scientists, you invite that world into the arts, and you invite the arts world into the scientific world. And you had the professor coming and talking, giving a small talk about fungi to your dancers. I think that's just amazing.
Nice. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, I mean, like, we are so trapped in these buildings and cities. I love city. But I also really love nature and forests. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
But in the end, I want to say thank you so much for coming and wanting to be part of this. And again, this is my first one in English, and I'm very happy that you were in it. I had others in mind, but I kept my mind on like, no, it has to be Anastasija, the first one in English. It has to be.
Yes.
So that means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Casper.
And thank you to everybody listening. Have a good day. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.